All right, what's up, everybody? Here from Levi's Stadium. 49ers whip the Cardinals 35-16. You could tell we got the setup a little bit differently today. Wanted to give you a view of the field. I'll be off on the side a little bit here, and I'll be showing you some cool graphics as we dive into 49ers intel. Move to 4-0, one of the last two unbeaten teams in the National Football League. Philadelphia has also yet to lose. So the 49ers looking really strong entering their showdown against the Cowboys next week. And I mean, there's elite stuff happening on multiple levels of what the 49ers are doing. And when we say elite, well, we've got to talk about Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Purdy, 20 of 21. That's 49ers history. Remember Alex Smith back in 2012? That was the season he was actually replaced by Colin Kaepernick after the concussion. Well, the game before that concussion against the Rams, Alex Smith went 18 of 19 against the Arizona Cardinals. That was the previous record for the 49ers. Brock Purdy has broken that. 20 of 21. The only incompletion for Brock Purdy today was on a 3rd and 24. After Colton McKivitz got beaten by Dennis Gardeck, the outside linebacker of the Arizona Cardinals. The edge rusher forced the 3rd and long situation. Purdy, I think, was going to Christian McCaffrey. It was kind of a throwaway. It was a whatever play for the 49ers. Wasn't even Purdy's fault. Nobody was open, so he threw the ball out toward the sideline. It was incomplete. That was his only incompletion on the game. So we've got a 95.2% completion rate, 13.5 yards per attempt, just masterful football. To help illustrate where Brock Purdy is right now, why don't you take a look at this right here? This is our quarterback XY axis. X-axis, moving left and right, obviously, is completion percentage above expectation. Y-axis is expected points added per play. Here's Brock Purdy, the very top right. This is where Patrick Mahomes normally resides at the end of seasons. So what you're seeing from Brock Purdy right now, I mean, he is in elite company with himself right now. Brock Purdy is in the upper right of this graph. He's surpassed Tua Tagovailoa, who obviously struggled a little bit today in the loss to the Buffalo Bills. Brock Purdy is in the upper right. I mean, some of the stuff that we saw today from Brock Purdy was borderline historic. Look at this at the bottom right. I'm going to take off the text so you can see it. Bottom right, completion percentage over expectation, plus 28%. That's what happens when you go 95% on your completion rate. 28% over the expectation. The way that I put it is Brock Purdy completed 95% of his passes while pushing the ball downfield. So 95% is a historic number for the 49ers in terms of completion rate, but it wasn't like he was dinking and dunking. It wasn't like it was all short passes for the 49ers. He was pushing the ball downfield. In fact, if you want numbers to back this up, Brock Purdy had the second highest completed air yards average, over 8 completed air yards today per throw that was completed for Brock Purdy out of the entire NFL. Number 2 in the entire NFL in completed air yard average, yet he made 49ers history with completion rate. So when you put those two things together, then you get this number in the bottom right, plus 28% completion percentage over expectation. So again, Brock Purdy is doing elite stuff. You cannot dispute it. This is the EPA. 1.06 expected points added per drop back for Brock Purdy. I mean, so this is saying that every single time that Brock Purdy dropped back today, the 49ers added over 1 expected point. I asked Ben Baldwin, whose website has all this information. I asked Ben Baldwin what if he's ever seen anything like this over the course of the time that he's been tracking it over this big of a sample. 25 dropbacks is not a small sample. And Ben Baldwin told me that only Lamar Jackson, week 1 of his MVP season, was putting up this type of EPA, plus 27.2 CPOE by this measure. There are different measures of CPOE, but it's either plus 28% or plus 27.2%. How about this? A QBR of 98.2. That's almost perfect. Again, this is historic stuff. I cannot wait for some of the excuses from people trying to discredit Brock Purdy over the course of this week. But I'm just here so that we appreciate great football when we see it. And we got elite football from Brock Purdy today. Again, this right here, I think, illustrates everything. Brock Purdy on the top right. I could zoom in on him in case you're not seeing that dot because it's so far above and to the right of everyone else. Now, people will say, well, Christian McCaffrey, doesn't he deserve some credit for this? Of course he does. It's a team sport. Kyle Shanahan deserves credit too. You know who else deserves credit? The 49ers offensive line. I mean, they all deserve credit, but Christian McCaffrey with 4 touchdowns today, over 100 yards rushing. Today, according to the advanced stats, it was Christian McCaffrey's most impressive performance. Mike sent me something good. I'll read it for you on Christian McCaffrey because they could track how these running backs do versus expectation. Christian McCaffrey recorded his highest rushing success rate, 55%, in a game since joining the 49ers. So 55% run success rate. That's really damn good, especially when other defenses, their first goal is to take away the 49ers run game. So in the case of Christian, you watch him play down on that field, and you could tell that he's seeing the holes and he's fitting through the holes better than he did last year. That's what a whole offseason the playbook study will do. There are more wrinkles now in Kyle Shanahan's offense than there were before. 49ers actually have run a higher percentage of personnel package variation than at any other point of Kyle Shanahan's tenure. So the offense is getting more complex. Christian McCaffrey has had more time to learn it. And when the quarterback is playing as precisely as Brock Purdy was today, it all flows. But the 49ers have the cheat code of having their safety valve, which is Christian McCaffrey, be one of the most explosive players in football. But most teams, when they go to their safety valve, just a safety valve. The 49ers safety valve is one of the most explosive players in football. McCaffrey gained plus 17 yards after the catch on over expectation on his 7 receptions, according to NFL Next Gen stats. He leads all NFL running backs in yards after the catch over expectation since last year. Christian McCaffrey has 219 yards over expectation after the catch since the start of last season. That's over 2 football fields more of yards after the catch than the average running back. Let that sink in. So everybody says, oh, all running backs are the same. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, they could have gotten that from anybody in this system. Let that sink in. Just in terms of the receiving game, it hasn't even been a season and a half. Like in a season and a quarter, just in terms of the receiving game, he's given the 49ers over 2 football fields more worth of yardage than the replacement average running back. The replacement back, not a bad back, a replacement back. So the numbers that McCaffrey is putting up, the numbers that Brock Purdy has put up are both absolutely epic. And it all adds up to this. These are team tiers. We update these after every single game. You want to be further to the right and further up. The 49ers offense is leading the charge this year, just as they did today. That is the x-axis. Look how far to the right the 49ers offense is. Trailing only Miami, but they made up a lot of ground with the Dolphins today losing to the Bills. Didn't I tell you guys that the Dolphins have not proven to be a two-way team, and that was going to become an issue for them? It was an issue for them today in Buffalo. So the 49ers are in tier 1 alongside the Buffalo Bills. There's one other team that's knocking on the door of tier 1 because Miami's sliding a bit here. That defense is below average, as you can tell. And that other team that's in tier 1 or near it are the Dallas Cowboys. And guess what? The 49ers are 4-0, and they're ready for the Dallas Cowboys, who blew out the New England Patriots today. It's going to be Sunday Night Football. At this time next week, right here on this field, right behind me, we'll probably have a final score for 49ers Cowboys. I know that the Chiefs and the Chiefs just played right now against the New York Jets, and the Chiefs, I think, got them there at the very end. Was waiting for that one to wrap up. So the 49ers ready for Dallas after just one hell of an offensive performance. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a bit. But first, we got to cover the defensive side of the ball. And I do have to say that the 49ers defense is objectively playing well. This is one of the it seems that every single week people find something that they want to be wrong about on social media. They've been wrong about Brock Purdy so many times. And really, I'm sure there are still people doubling down against Brock Purdy, but it's just idiotic at this point. He completed 95% of his passes and is making NFL history and is an elite quarterback right now. I mean, anybody reasonable won't be close to criticizing Brock Purdy at this point. But I will say that the defense for the 49ers might have left an opening to some criticism, and by no means were they perfect. I think the 49ers have been very clear about that when you talk to Nick Bosa, saying that the middle two drives for the Cardinals upset him. But look at the big picture again. Arizona, a week after they scored 28 points on 7.5 yards per play against Dallas, managed only 16 on 5.4 yards per play against the 49ers. And they beat Dallas and they lost to the 49ers in a blowout. You know, I was here saying the 49ers, what did I predict? The 17-point win? They won by 19 points. So the 49ers defense, by any big picture objective evaluation, was good today. And this Arizona offense isn't bad. This Arizona offense entered this game as a top 10 DVOA offense. That probably won't change after today because that's defense adjusted and the 49ers defense is at the top of the league, right? This Arizona offense, I mean, you talk to Nick Bosa, you talk to Eric Armstead. The 49ers are immensely impressed with how well Arizona has established its run-first mentality under its new coach, Jonathan Gannon. In a way, Arizona is trying to emulate the 49ers, right? The league has seen the success that the 49ers have had running, setting that backbone, insulating themselves against opposing pass rushes, bleeding the air out of a game, and teams are trying to copy them. See, the Atlanta Falcons obviously used the 49ers formula against them to win last year. So the Cardinals were going to try the same thing. It worked against the Cowboys. They rushed for 222 yards against Dallas. The 49ers weren't airtight against the run today. Arizona was a little bit over 100 yards. Joshua Dobbs and James Conner ran well. But the 49ers basically took what Dallas allowed and cut it in half against the Cardinals. And they took Arizona's best punches. And their best punches came after they faked the punt. So early game, 49ers smothered Arizona. Cardinals had to do something, so they faked the punt. That fake punt led to an 87-yard touchdown drive. 49ers got knocked off the wheels a little bit there. Then coming out of halftime, Arizona, 99-yard touchdown drive. That's the one that the 49ers really weren't happy about. They were steamed about that one after the game. But then the Cardinals went for two after they cut it to 21-16 with that 99-yard touchdown drive. And going for two didn't work. I thought that might have been the play of the game, really, defining play. That obviously the highlight reel play of the game was Christian McCaffrey hurdling Catrell Clark there in the first half. But the turning point of the game, I thought, was late in the first half. Early in the second half, Oren Burks and Talanoa Hufanga teaming up to push James Conner out of bounds and stuff the two-point conversion attempt. Because from there, it went two really good Arizona drives, 87 and 99 yards, to Arizona going back to its early game form. They weren't able to do anything. So it was a tale of three phases for the 49ers defense, right? Phase one, open the game with dominance. Phase two, give up like 8.8 yards per play. Wasn't good over those two drives. Phase three, rediscover yourself. Shut Arizona down for the rest of the game. That's when you saw the first sack of the game from Javon Hargrave. And the pass rush was good for the 49ers. But again, Arizona was able to run effectively enough. They're able to mix and match their receiving combinations with Michael Wilson, the Stanford product, obviously Marquise Hollywood Brown in there, and Rondale Moore. They're able to mix and match the receiving combinations well enough to keep that 49ers pass rush sufficiently off balance. But the 49ers figured it out. And they got help from their offense too, right? The offense answering with a touchdown as soon as Arizona made it 21-16. The offense answering for the 49ers to make it 28-16. Christian McCaffrey with his fourth touchdown, which also, by the way, is historic. Well, that was almost history, but another thing that Christian McCaffrey did was history. We'll talk about that in a bit. The offense responding at that time gave the 49ers defense breathing room to attack. It's a team sport, right? And when it's a team sport, sometimes your best defense is a good offense. And that's exactly what happened. The 49ers offense said, don't worry about it, guys. We know Arizona's cut the lead to 21-16. You haven't looked good over your past two drives. We're going to score a touchdown here, make it 28-16. Now you can snuff Arizona out. And that's exactly what the 49ers did. Javon Hargrave picked up his third sack of the season. Javon Hargrave now has as many sacks this season through 4 games as all of the 49ers defensive tackles had combined throughout all of last season. So all of a sudden, the 49ers have an interior pass rush, and that's a complete game changer, right? They didn't have an interior pass rush last year. This year they do. So every single opponent, the only chance they have is to either run the football or quick attack. And quick attack doesn't work for the whole game because eventually you're going to make a mistake. So the Cardinals try to do it by running the football. They had some success, but not nearly enough success to overcome 35 points from the 49ers offense on the other side. So you can see how this works in team fashion. The 49ers offense sets an extremely high bar for opponents to have to cross. And then the defense just has to keep it under that bar. And today they kept them under that bar by 19 points. Again, the 49ers defense was objectively better against the top 10 DVOA Arizona offense. And Joshua Dobbs was hanging in that pocket. I mean, he threw some dots downfield while getting drilled. Javon got him once. Javon Hargrave in the second half, and Dobbs hung in there and delivered him. Dobbs ran for 48 yards. I mean, this is a legitimate Arizona offense. You saw it against the Dallas defense the week before. The Cowboys were the number 1 defense in the league entering that game, and the Cardinals damn near dropped 30 on them. So if anybody's saying that this wasn't a good 49ers defensive performance right now, it's nonsense. It's almost as nonsensical as saying that Brock Purdy wasn't good entering this game. And Brock Purdy obviously completely shut those critics up today with his 95% completion rate. Nobody's saying the 49ers defense was perfect today, but you have to grade these things relative to what the rest of the NFL is doing. Otherwise, your expectations are completely unrealistic. And holding an Arizona team, again, that put up 28 on Dallas at 7.5 per play, holding them to 16 on 5.4 per play, that's a significant reduction of what Arizona did last week. So the 49ers defense playing well too. All right, so I talked about Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey delivering elite stuff for the 49ers. Well, how about we toss Brandon Aiyuk in there too? So Purdy was going deep today quite a bit, like 3 or 4 times downfield to Brandon Aiyuk, right? And Aiyuk, I mean, the stat line is gaudy, especially considering the fact that there are only 6 receptions, 6 for 148 yards for Brandon Aiyuk, 24.7 yards per reception. Welcome back from injury. Jeez. The first deep one, it was a 42-yarder from Purdy to Brandon Aiyuk, was in double coverage on the post. He came back for the football in Jerry Rice fashion. I mean, the midstream adjustment from Brandon Aiyuk was elite stuff on that play. And I thought that it was an elite throw from Brock Purdy too, because if you throw that one over the top against double coverage that has Brandon Aiyuk covered over the top, it's probably not going to be completed. It might be intercepted. But if you throw that one slightly underneath with Brandon Aiyuk having the advantage of knowing where he's going and probably seeing the ball first since he turns his head around first, if you throw that one a little bit underneath, all of a sudden he can be open, especially if he knows what he's doing, if he can adjust his route, if he has the deftness to do that. And that's exactly what Brandon Aiyuk did. That's the kind of route subtlety that Jerry Rice mastered. That's why Jerry Rice is the greatest football player of all time, despite the fact that his 40 wasn't blazing fast. He knew how to slightly change gears in nuanced moments. And then he also was on the same page as his quarterback, mainly Joe Montana, then Steve Young, to be able to take advantage of that deftness, those changing gears, to get open at the very last second, to find windows that other receivers didn't find. So on the 42-yard connection from Purdy to Brandon Aiyuk, that was a window that not a lot of quarterbacks and receivers are going to connect on. But the 49ers did. And again, the proof is in the pudding. There are going to be people who somehow, some way tried to discredit this, but the proof is always in the pudding. And this is the pudding right here. Bottom right, completion percentage over expectation. Brock Purdy today, plus 28%. Historically high numbers. His dot, upper right. Completion percentage over expectation is moving left to right. Vertical is expected points at it. This is Mahomes territory typically. Purdy doing better than Patrick Mahomes so far this season. I think Brock Purdy's completion rate now on the year is a good 72.4%. He was at 67% last season. So after today's 95.2% outing, Purdy is even better than last year by 5 points. Elite stuff from Purdy and McCaffrey. I promised to tell you about Christian McCaffrey's great history that he made and then also nearly made today, because there was an accomplishment on the historical facet on one side, and then Christian McCaffrey came up just short on the other side. The one that he made was with the first touchdown of the 4 that he scored, was Christian McCaffrey's 13th consecutive game with a touchdown. It goes back all the way to the Miami game when Brock Purdy entered for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo last year. That is the longest streak in 49ers history. 13 games. Jerry Rice had the previous long of 12 games, right? So, I mean, anytime that you're breaking a record from Jerry Rice, we're watching something insane. I've already told you, Christian McCaffrey squeezing through the holes today. He's running so efficiently, and he's seeing the field so much better than even last year when he was already really good, that, I mean, the 49ers just have to be over the moon. I mean, this trade, it's obviously already a historically good one, and it's looking only better week by week. McCaffrey leads the league in rushing yards. Now he's got, 7 or 8 touchdowns to his name after I think he entered this game with 3. He scored 4 more. But that's where he came up a little bit short. Brock Purdy got his last potential touchdown on the quarterback sneak. The 49ers record for touchdowns in a game is held by Jerry Rice, 1998 against Atlanta, and Ricky Waters in 1993 in the playoffs against the New York Giants. They won 44-3 that year before they lost to the Cowboys. Both of those guys have scored 5 touchdowns in the games that I just listed. McCaffrey had a shot, but Brock Purdy ended up pushing the ball through for the 49ers in that final touchdown. So close, but no cigar for Christian McCaffrey. Still, though, the 49ers, between the collective effort, this is what it looked like. Tier 1 team. Give me a second to open my water here. I can't do it with on one hand. There. I got it. So, 49ers 35, Cardinals 16. This is 49ers Intel. There's probably a lot more to talk about, so I'll open it up to 49ers Q&A. I see some people are talking about 49ers Dallas already. That's next week. The 49ers are 4-0 and ready for Dallas. The one common opponent has been the Arizona. Well, there have been 2. First, the New York Giants in week 1, but the most recent common opponent, the Arizona Cardinals. We're down here. The Cardinals are a 3 or 4 team with a good offense, but not a great defense. And the 49ers really torched that defense today. So it will be the Tier 1 49ers against the Tier 1/2 Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football next week. Go for broke always comes through with some good factoids. Brock Purdy's on track to pass for 4,330 yards, beating Jeff Garcia's 2,000 mark of 4,278 yards. Impressive, but you know me, I like to look at efficiency more than I like to look at raw yards. And from an efficiency standpoint, Brock Purdy is leading the National Football League. You saw the tier chart for quarterbacks on the X and Y axis. I'm opening up the EPA list right now on Ben Baldwin's website, and I can't wait to share it with you as soon as it loads. That must mean that I need to get out of here. They turned off the light. Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn the light back on, but I will be leaving here in a couple seconds. All right, check this out. Look where Brock Purdy is on that list. And look at the other guys on EPA per play. Tua, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Russell Wilson. Purdy is above them all, and by a considerable amount. I mean considerable. Let me go turn this light back on. 1 second. All I had to do was move. Turns out I didn't even have to get up. So Purdy has been just, you can't ask for any more. You literally can. It's historic stuff that we're seeing from Brock Purdy. So is it because he was the last pick in the draft and people worship the draft? Is it because he's not 6'3" or 6'4"? I don't know. But beyond just the yards mark, he's doing special stuff in terms of efficiency. All right, let's ask some questions. If you have good questions, I'll answer them. If you don't, then we're going to have to get going into the night. I'm going to be making a drive to Visalia tonight here from Santa Clara. And I think there's going to be a show or a video from In-N-Out Burger along the way. I think it's only appropriate if that happens. Let me see if my article's up yet. If it is, we got to get it up on the screen, right? Yes, it is. Let's get this sucker up on the screen and let's get all of you to subscribe to The Athletic. Here we go. I'm going to tweet this sucker out too. Look at that right there. 49ers defense wasn't perfect, but it shut the door when necessary against the Cardinals. I've got to tweet it out, so give me 1 second. In time for everyone to enjoy. Boom. It is up. So you can see it up on Twitter, Lombardi himself. And then I'll put that link into the description of this piece and you can hop onto the Athletic. I don't know if you could still get it for $1 a month, but I'm sure you could get a good rate. And I go deep into everything. In fact, one of the things that I really break down is the three phases of the game. The 49ers really only struggled defensively for those middle two drives, but at the first part of the game and down the stretch, they were really, really good. I'll be going through Fresno here in a couple hours as I head down to Visalia, which is my hometown. See, Gopher Broke always has these great points. It's both Purdy and Shanahan. It's a symbiotic relationship, and it's working because they're cooking with plasma torches. Yeah, Oren Burks did look good today. I thought one of the key game-saving plays was the fact that Oren Burks was in on that stop of James Conner, along with Talanoa Hufanga on the two-point conversion. Remember, Arizona had scored 13 unanswered points at that point in the game. And the 49ers needed to stop the bleeding, and they did. And then complementary football. Offense supports defense. Defense supports offense. 49ers did that really well. Ooh, the 49ers are favored by 3.5 against Dallas. It's quality information. Thanks for that. And there's not a lot wrong with the 49ers defense. Again, that's one of my main points that people are getting wrong. The 49ers defense is objectively playing well. There's really no other way around it. They're playing very, very well for the 49ers. They're not playing perfectly. Neither is the offense. I mean, the offense had one blemish, right? It went to 3rd and 24. I said that. The edge rusher, Dennis Gardeck, beat Colton McKivitz. My main point with the 49ers offense is these guys are unstoppable under two conditions because, if they stay healthy, condition one is stay healthy. Because if they stay healthy, the geometry doesn't work out for defenses. You cannot cover everybody on this offense because it goes from Christian McCaffrey to George Kittle to Deebo Samuel to Brandon Aiyuk. Hell, I mean, even Kyle Juszczyk was beating Arizona's top linebacker, Kaiser White, today. There are too many eligibles who could win one-on-ones to make this 49ers offense guardable if condition two is met, and that's if Brock Purdy distributes the ball properly. And Brock Purdy has been distributing the ball properly, 95% completion rate, through the roof efficiency. So both of those two things happen. You can't stop the 49ers offense. Now, the way that you derail one of those two things, probably your best shot is to beat the 49ers up front, to pressure Purdy enough to either prevent him from having the time to throw downfield and to distribute the ball the way that he needs to, or to force him into mistakes. Right. And so far, he hasn't thrown a single interception all year. And today, the one play that did derail the 49ers was exactly that. It was Dennis Gardeck, spin move, pass right tackle Colton McKivitz, sack, created a 3rd and 24. 3rd and 24 was where the one incompletion and the one failed drive came in. That was it. So it's impressive stuff. It's still very conditional, of course. I'm not saying that the 49ers offense is unstoppable. I'm saying they're unstoppable if they do two simple things. And my main point is that only the 49ers can probably stop the 49ers at this point. If they could, and health is sometimes out of their control too, right? But if they can stay healthy and Purdy can distribute the way that we've seen so far this season, the geometry doesn't work for opposing defenses. Christian McCaffrey just creates too much space. Deebo Samuel, too much space. George Kittle, too much space. These guys combined, they create too much space. And if Shanahan has that schemed like he does every week, there's going to be a correct place to go with the football. The run game is there, and the run game is thriving with Christian McCaffrey leading the league because, the run game is there so the 49ers can diffuse opposing pass rushes, but it's thriving because it is now established with McCaffrey having been here for nearly, a full season's worth of games. And that sets the 49ers up for a balanced attack that could be near the top of the league in efficiency. The Dolphins might still be there, but we saw the limitations of the Dolphins' approach today against the Bills. The 49ers, meanwhile, are playing a very balanced brand of football. They're in the upper right here. Defense is maybe a little bit lower than we might have expected it to be, but it could still climb. And as you can see, Dallas's defense, which is rated as the top defense in the league alongside Cleveland's, they fared a whole lot worse against Arizona than the 49ers did. So we still need a little bit bigger of a sample from all these games to see where these dots are going to end up. But you want to be in tier 1, and the 49ers are in tier 1 right now. And that's really all that matters. 4-0 technically is all that matters. The Purdy standard, every time Purdy plays and he doesn't tear his UCL, the 49ers score over 30. I don't think they scored over 30 against Seattle last year either, but Purdy was also hurt, had a broken rib in that game. 30-plus points again. Yes, 30, 30, 30, and 35 for the 49ers. Oh, awesome. Brought your son in from Madeira. I'll be passing through Madeira a little bit later tonight. Yeah, it's going to be tough to score 30 against Dallas. That is a good defense. But, hey, Arizona put up 28 against them, so it might be possible. Let's just see. Very good game from Shanahan. Purdy. Aiyuk, 6 catches, 148 yards for Brandon Aiyuk. 49ers are a tier 1 football team. All right, time for me to hit the road. We're going to have a lot more on 49ers breakdowns here as this week continues. I'll do something from In-N-Out Burger on the way to the Central Valley. Anyway, everybody, you do need to check out my article on Athletic. I spend all this extra time doing shows just for you. I'll toss this into the description right now. The 49ers defense wasn't perfect, but it shut the door when necessary against the Cardinals. And I'll leave you with a few more factoids. And we'll have this on the screen while I talk, but a few more factoids. Let me scoot up. I want to be in the middle here, or as close to it as possible. Most consecutive games with a touchdown since 1990. Emmitt Smith, 14, number 1 spot. Christian McCaffrey, number 2 spot, number 13. This was the 49ers' best game in the red zone under Kyle Shanahan. They went 5 of 5 in red zone touchdown conversions, directly fixing something they talked about wanting to fix after playing the Giants in week 3. The last time the 49ers went 5 for 5 was under Jim Harbaugh in 2013 under Jacksonville in London. The 49ers are the first team since the Peyton Manning Broncos in 2012 and 2013 to score 30 or more points in 7 straight regular season games. So Brock Purdy is doing stuff at the helm that Peyton Manning did with the Broncos back in 2012 and 2013. That is undoubtedly extremely impressive. McCaffrey scored 4 touchdowns. Brock Purdy set the franchise completion record at 20 of 21, 95.2%. McCaffrey has even earned respect from Nick Bosa, who said, quote, "As a D lineman, I don't give too much respect to running backs, usually because of how well we play against the run around here, but I think my mind has changed on that." Purdy completed that 95.2% of his passes, even with the second highest completed air yard average in the NFL today. So there's no dink and dunk nonsense to try to discredit Brock Purdy possible. Plus 28% completion percentage over expectation. 49ers are a tier 1 team. They held Arizona to 16 points after Arizona scored 28 against Dallas. 49ers are only allowing 14.5 points per game against opposing offenses. Johnny Dell's Football Academy had a great tweet here. The 2013 Seahawks Legion of Boom, considered one of the great defense in history, they also only gave up 14.5 points per game. So 10 tackles apiece for Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. And just, I mean, overpowering football across the board for the 49ers. A 3-possession win is well above the standard of dominance in the National Football League. It's not easy to win by 3 scores. 49ers have now done that in 2 straight weeks. So, I mean, just let that sink in. Offense, defense, special teams, it's not easy to win by 3 scores in the NFL, and the 49ers did. 35-14 over the Cardinals. All right, we'll talk to everybody soon. Stay tuned for much more, maybe even that stop at In-N-Out Burger later tonight. And sub to The Athletic. It's right here. I'm going to toss it into the description so you can do just that. Buy from Levi's Stadium.